Hi, my name is Sean. I'm an alcoholic. I just wanted to start by just saying thanks for the opportunity to speak here. I was in these meetings in Scottsboro that I found this program, and I actually came up here from Joburg this week to come and share at the treatment center, and I find immense gratitude when I was coming back here. This place changed my life, this program changed my life. Yeah, so I know I shared with a lot of you guys yesterday, so I've only got one story. But I'd like to just begin by saying, I can remember thinking there was something wrong with me, for the longest time. And I always was trying to find the reason that I was behaving the way that I was doing the things that I was doing. And only until I came to treatment and found the 12 steps that I realized that it was because I have a disease, because I'm an alcoholic, and it took other people's experiences to show me that I was an alcoholic too, It's for the longest time I can remember looking back at my childhood and going what happened to make me like this? I remember thinking, was I abused when I was younger? I don't remember. I don't think I was. I grew up in a really good family, so I couldn't blame my parents. When I was 12 years old, we immigrated to America in 1995. Because my dad was a policeman during the apartheid, he thought that things were going to go really bad. So we kind of fled, and yes, I thought that was the reason that I was like I was, because I was in 4 schools in 1 year, and it wasn't, I kept searching for something to make me feel okay, When I was younger, it was affirmation in terms from peers, from my friends, from teachers, from my parents. I didn't want to be seen as not being perfect, so I would lie, I would keep things from people, I would pretend to be perfect, and I worked really hard. I found that I had a talent with drawing and art and stuff when I was really young, so I got a lot of affirmation out of that, and I pursued a career in that later on, and I actually, I have managed to make a career out of it, which I'm really grateful for. But all these things weren't enough. It was never enough. I started drinking when I was 13 or 14. Blackout drunk from the first time. I lied from the first time I drank to get the alcohol. And then it became something I did quite regularly with my friends. And I don't ever remember enjoying drinking when I was younger. I remember forcing down the brandy and the beer because it tasted horrible. But I liked the effect of it. And also what I liked about it was the group of guys that I was friends with. We had this bond, we all being naughty together and running around the streets of Benoni causing chaos and vandalizing things and just being naughty kids, I guess. And I got caught a few times with my parents, and they always just thought it was normal teenage behavior, experimenting and that kind of stuff. But it didn't stop, it just got progressively worse and worse and worse. So alcohol, I think, and drugs, I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, but the substances were the solution for the way that I felt about myself, because they kind of took that feeling away. They were just another way of me trying to fill that void that I had been experiencing my whole life, and it's weird now that I've been doing this program for a while, a year. I don't have that feeling anymore. Sometimes I still think that other things are going to make me feel good, affirmation still makes me feel good, but I quickly get reminded by the fact that it doesn't last very long, And my sponsor, every time, I fall into the same trap. I'm I want things to go well, and when they don't, then I get into a bit of a mess, and I just remember, and I get reminded that this program is actually the only thing that takes away that feeling, especially when I do service, when I help other people, it works better than any drug, any affirmation I could get. I get through helping people now, And it's weird how, and Daniel used to say this to me when I was in treatment, he's like, I can see you found something here. And I did. What I found was a connection with people, a place where I could be honest, because I could never be honest for the fear of being judged and not being seen as perfect. Now these rooms and these meetings, I can be honest and nobody, I don't know if they judge me, but it doesn't matter because we're all kind of here for the same thing, We all have the same disease. And I find relief in that, today. I don't need to use substances. I haven't had the desire to use or drink since like my second month in treatment. It just kind of went away at some point, and hasn't come back. I suppose I've had euphoric moments where I've wanted to drink, but I just talk about it, my sponsor or someone else, and it goes away. But nothing has gotten bad enough to make me want to drink. I remember hearing about the tools of recovery and what are these tools, and it's very simple actually. It's doing the next right thing, speaking to someone about it, talking about the stuff that bothers me to another alcoholic. That stuff works for me, and it was stuff that I never knew about until I got to treatment. And I like to say that I found God in a rehab, when I went to rehab, I didn't know what I was going to. I didn't have a clue what it was about. I didn't know about the book. I didn't know about the steps. I didn't know anything when it came to recovery. I just knew that it worked for other people, so I was doing this thing. And I found, I've always believed in a higher power. I'm not an atheist or agnostic. Maybe a bit agnostic. I grew up in a Christian home, and I remember getting confirmed at church. I remember going to Sunday school, but I never really connected with what they were offering there. I was just there because my parents told me to go. I got confirmed. Most of the time I was high in my confirmation classes. Religion didn't work for me. But I knew there had to be something, because of the miracle of life and that kind of thing. So I always had a belief in a God. But I think when I was in treatment, I got an understanding of what God is to me. And I like the saying, God comes to you disguised as your life. And that is the way that I experience life now. And that's also where I learned the difference between acceptance and resignation. So when things are bad or when things are good, I like to be reminded that that's God working in my life, especially when things are bad. I think I get the most growth out of things that are the difficult times now, Like if I look back at the last year, it wasn't easy leaving treatment. I had this feeling like I had to be perfect and I had to work this perfect program. And the reality is I can never work a perfect program, but I always do the next right thing, which is what I learned in the meetings here, Do the next right thing, speak to my sponsor, speak to another addict, go to a meeting, help someone, to get out of my head, I'll go help someone. So I've learned a lot about living life, I never knew how to live life before. For me, it was easy just to lie and pretend and act like everything was okay. But my understanding of my contact with God now is if I'm dishonest, then it's not God's will for me. If I have to do something bad to get something out of it, that's not God's will for me. I think I love the idea of God's will because it helps me let go, because I always wanted to control everything, and I don't always like what God's will is for me. I suppose one of the hardest things I've had to go through in the last year was, so I've got a daughter, and her mother never really knew the extent of my problem until I went to rehab, because it must have been serious to go to rehab, And she kind of stopped me from from having my daughter as much as I used to before I went to treatment, and she used to call her fiance, now husband, she used to call him Uncle Nathan, and she would call him Uncle Nathan to my daughter. My daughter used to call him Nate, and when I was in treatment, when I came out, my daughter, like sometime in treatment, my daughter started calling him Dad, Daddy, and I remember sharing about it, and I can honestly say now that I've accepted it, and I'm really grateful for this man that's in my daughter's life, because he's such a good person. But it was really hard for me to allow that, to allow another man to be called Daddy by my daughter. But my sponsor reminded me, he's like, is your daughter happy? Is she happy? Is she a happy person? She got a good life, and she does. She's happy. She's, for a father that was in active addiction for 20 years, my daughter has turned out remarkably well because of her mother putting her foot down, and I can remember on my weekend out from treatment, I phoned my ex-wife and I said, so when I get out of here, is everything going to go back to normal? And I was still very much insane, And I came out and I told my sponsor in treatment that she had said no, everything's not going to go back to normal. And he just said to me, what are you doing, She can take your kid away from you if she wants to, You've just spent 3 months in a rehab. How can you expect everything to go back to normal? And when I did my amends with him, I went through my amends list, he said, your amends to your ex-wife, and I owe her so many amends. Nobody deserves to be put through what I put her through in the 8 years that we were together. But he said, your amends to her is just to let her be the mother, and let her call the shots when it comes to your daughter, and just bite your tongue, and just do it. Do whatever she says. And it was really difficult in the beginning. I had to go do supervised visits and all these things. There was no trust at all, Even my daughter was wary of me. And it took a long time, it took maybe 3 or 4 months of those supervised visits, and she could start coming to my house again. And that was only for half a day, and then it got to a full day, And at the beginning of beginning of last year, end of last year, beginning of this year, my ex-wife said, let's have a talk, And we spoke about my daughter's year ahead and all these things. And she said to me, so when would you like Cassie to sleep over by you? And I wanted to say now, like today, tomorrow, whenever, this is soon. And I just remembered my sponsor's advice, and I just said, Claire, whenever you're ready, whenever you're ready, then I'll have her sleep on me. And she said, okay, let's see how it goes, let's look at February. And my 1 year was on Monday, and my daughter slept by me for the first time in over a year on Saturday nights, and it was not self-will. I didn't have to fight for it. I just was consistent in my program. I treated my ex-wife with respect. I treated her husband with respect. I just practiced my program, and I had faith, And my sponsor kept reminding me, because it got to me a lot. And he just said, it'll work out, just keep doing what you're doing, it'll work out. And it was such an amazing thing to have her sleep on me again on Saturday night. And it's such a small thing, that I took for granted in active. She used to sleep on me every Sunday, and I sometimes just wanted to get rid of her so that I could do what I wanted to do. And to be grateful to be able to be a father today is a gift of recovery, And it's not always easy to be a father, but I've managed to be what I believe is a good dad. When I was inactive, I wasn't. I thought I was being a good dad, but I wasn't. The way that I was living, there's no example. Putting myself at risk like that is not something that a good father does. I remember when I was with my kid, I was always wondering, or hoping to put her to sleep. Is she going to go to sleep today so that I could use or drink or do what I wanted to do? And now it's weird. I've got this thing of when I'm with her, I'm present, I'm there, I'm not thinking about using, I'm not hungover, and it's a beautiful time together, And it's an amazing thing, the things that I've been getting in the last year, I can remember. I'm look back on active, and my bosses used to have these meetings with me every couple of months because they wanted to promote me, but they could see that I wasn't ready. My behavior wasn't that of a manager. And they used to have these meetings, and they would call me, and they would say, let's have it over a beer, because they didn't have a clue that I had a problem. And he used to say, we're really worried about you, Sean, like what's going on? And I couldn't be honest with them. And I used to just say, no, I'm really depressed because of my divorce. And I used to make up these stories and shame poor me, and they used to buy it, and they used to give me leeway for all the days I was off, and for my behavior, they were like, no, it's really tough, his wife cheated on him, because I told this whole story about my wife cheating on me and stuff. So they gave me grace, I guess. And I abused that, I abused them, and I'm really lucky that they never, for the 3 months I was away, they covered for me, and when I got back, they had my job waiting for me, And it was suggested that I do my direct amends to them when I get back. And it was my first day back at work, and going into a managerial position, because I was promoted in Active, but I never actually did the job, so I never really got promoted, I guess. But now that I came out of rehab for 3 months, my bosses are like, cool, he's going to be more responsible. We want you to talk to the company and do a presentation on your vision for the company. And everyone had known where I was, So I used that as an opportunity to do my amends and just get honest with them, because they thought, because I told them I was going to rehab because I had a drinking problem. But it was a lot more than that, So I used that opportunity to do a direct amends at work, and it was really hard, but I got through it. And my experience has been that everybody's been very supportive, And I thought I was going to be judged, and everyone was going to be like, "What the hell? This guy's our boss now, and he's just come out of rehab." But they've slowly let me go into the role, and when I go back to work on Tuesday, I'm going to be promoted, So I'm taking over my boss's job to creative director, which is something that I never thought was going to happen when I was in Active. I never thought I would get there. It always felt like unattainable. I knew that that was the next step in my career, but I never thought I would get there. And it's kind of just happened by me just practicing my program, And if I look, my bosses they're still wary. They don't understand what it means. I remember my boss used to say to me, why don't you just get some meds, You can go see my psychiatrist. I'll pay for the meds, because of how I was behaving. And I didn't want to ever do that, because I knew what was going on, but they didn't know, I didn't want to tell them. And what's been really freeing as well is that I don't live a lie anymore. I don't have to live this lie that I'm trying to be perfect, that it was my divorce or some other thing that's made me this way, I don't have to pretend that I'm okay when I'm not. I don't have to battle through Mondays anymore at work, I don't have to lie, And when I do, then I know that I've got to get honest, And she's like, to tell a fraction of the lies that I used to tell. I think one of the gifts of recovery for me is that I'm not okay with lying anymore. I remember in Active, I could just lie on top of lies, and as long as people believed it, then I felt fine about it, And today I don't have that. I can't lie, When I do lie, it gets to me, and I've got to tell the truth. And that's how I keep my conscious contact with God, And I think when I went to treatment, I didn't think I was going to go there to find God, I didn't think it was going to be a spiritual thing. I thought they were going to maybe give me some tablets or like a meditation thing or detox me. I didn't know. I didn't actually know what to expect. But I love that it's a spiritual program, that I can access it wherever I am through prayer, meditation. I love that I don't have to go to church to be in touch with God, I think what I've found in this program is a connection to a higher power, being able to clear away that wreckage, that was keeping me away from God. It was really difficult to do that step 4 and get honest with someone and clear away that kind of all that guilt and those resentments and things. It was one of the hardest things I've ever had to do. And I think I got that pink cloud, like people talk about after you do your step 5. And when I went back to life after treatment, that kind of faded away, because it's not always easy out there, with people that don't have programs, a lot of tolerance, a lot of compassion. In treatment, it was different, So what I remember, and my sponsors, he can relate to this, is that I always try and get back to that feeling that I had when I left treatment, that clarity, that freedom, and it comes and goes. Every day is not a good day, and when I have days that are really challenging, then when I get on my knees at night, I just say thank you for keeping me clean, and I keep doing that, I keep being grateful, for everything, for the fact that I don't have to use things to feel okay anymore, and I love that I have a sponsor, somebody that I can phone that gets me, and he's there for me, and he doesn't tell me what I want to hear, he tells me what I need to hear, and also what I love is that I get to be helpful now, even I suppose, I do service, I can help other alcoholics and addicts, but I also practice it in my daily life, so I try and help other people as well, at work. I never really wanted to help anyone with anything, I just wanted to do what was good for me, and this program has taught me that I have to be helpful, and that's what it's about, it's about loving other people, and sometimes I forget and I start judging people again, and I start seeing everybody's defects, and then it just reminds me, I love that people's defects show me what's wrong with me, when I'm being judgmental of someone, that's something that I don't like about myself, and I like that mirror, it helps me, it shows me where I need to work, and I think I've also, when I look at people now, I remember there was a time, for a long time, where I didn't like people, and I used to tell people that. I used to say, I don't like people, I don't want to be around people, I really don't like anyone, and I don't know what my friends actually thought about that. I didn't like people, and today I can honestly say that's not what it's like, I don't always agree with people or want what they have, but there's always somebody to help these days, and I look around, especially at work, I think I get my most growth at work. I can remember when I came out of treatment, somebody shared that in a meeting, they said they get the most growth at work, and I couldn't relate yet, and today I see that's where I get so much growth, because I have a responsibility there now, and and I think it's a really difficult place to be, especially because nobody there understands what it's like to be an alcoholic, and they all like to still drink and party, and none of them have what I can see have what I have. They don't have a disease, but they don't tiptoe around me either, which is something that I like. I don't want people to be different around me just because I can't drink. But it's been a really great year. I like to think it's been the best year of my life. I can't remember life being this good ever. Ever. My parents, I've grown. My dad told me he loved me for the first time that wasn't drunk, because the only time he used to tell me he loved me is when I told him I loved him, when I'd been drinking and I was in a festive spirit, And a couple of months ago, he just said to me, "I love you, my son," and I didn't know what to do with that. I was like, whoa. So I just I didn't say anything. I said, "I love you too," and I kind of left. I wanted to talk to my mom about it, and I was like, "No, let me just enjoy this." He hasn't said it again. he's a really old Afrikaans guy, and he's like old school. But the fact that he can see a difference and that he says that is amazing, I've got a relationship with my mother now like I've never had before. When I came out of treatment, I said to her, if you don't want to know something about me, don't ask, because I'm going to be honest. And her father was an alcoholic, so she knows she's been on the other end, and she went to Al-Anon for a long time. So she kind of gets it, and she knows that I've got to do what I've got to do, but she doesn't, it was my 1 year on Monday, and I expected my dad and my brother and everyone to phone me and say congrats, and they didn't. My mom phoned me quite late that evening. She said, "Oh, well done, on your 1 year, that's really good." And for me, it's a massive achievement. 1 year of not taking any substance is a long time. I couldn't even get a couple of weeks. Back in active, and it hasn't been white knuckling either. Life's been good. I think that's what the steps gives me, is that life is actually better, now that I have a program and I work it, and I still do a lot of meetings, and I plan to keep doing a lot of meetings. I still speak to my sponsor, I still do step 11s. I still get on my knees every morning and every night. Sometimes I get on my knees and I'm like, I don't know what to say except for, I just do the third step prayer, Every day I do start my day with the third step prayer, and ask to have my character defects removed. And I can remember, just one other thing I also wanted to share was, I can remember thinking that when I did my step 7, all those defects are just going to go away, and they don't. I've constantly got to work on that stuff. And I got to a point in my recovery where I was getting anxious at work, and I was being a bit nasty to people, I was being arrogant, and I was like, how the hell am I going to stop doing this? And it's almost like I didn't have control over it, And then I just remembered the steps, and I was like, I don't have to do it, God will do it for me, God does for me what I can't do for myself, but I've got to pray about it, and I've got to look at my behavior, and I've got to know what's wrong, and I pick that up over time. And my sponsor picks it up as well, because I send him my step 11s. And it's a freeing feeling to know that I don't have to do it on my own. I don't have to do things on my own, and my faith has grown the longer that I've stayed sober, In the beginning, I wasn't sure how this whole thing worked, okay, so I'm just going to ask God to take my will in my life, and then is that how it works, It didn't really make sense, and it's just consistently I've done it, and it's been working, I get reminded when my self-will runs riot, I get reminded because I feel disturbed, I feel like I'm in a bit of a mess, and then I know what I've got to work on, and I know what I've got to do, and it's simple. I talk to someone about it, I talk to my sponsor about it, or I accept something that I can't change, the serenity prayer. I accept the things I can't change. And I love the thought that, or the idea that it's not about accepting it and not liking that. It's accepting it and knowing that there's a reason that things are the way they are. And down the line, it'll be revealed why or not. But I like to believe that everything happens exactly the way that it's meant to happen. The people that I meet, the things that I see, the things that I hear, my thoughts, even to a point, my thoughts are not in my control, but what I choose to do with them is, and that's a empowering thing, Like I will always be powerless over alcohol, I'll always be powerless over my defects, and very often my thinking, and I think another thing recovery is giving me is it's through learning to meditate and stuff. I've learned to keep this thing quiet, and when it's not, I've learned not to take it too seriously. I am my actions. The things that I do define me, not the things that I think. Because if I was the things that I think, I would not be a very good person, and it's a program of action, and I think when I first learned all this stuff, I kind of faked it till I made it, you know. And I just, to an extent, maybe I was complying at some point, but I just kept doing it, and the experiences showed me that this stuff actually works, you know. If I have a bad day, and I've had many nights where, and they've less now, you know, where I'll just be sitting at home and I'll start crying, you know, and I'll just start crying, and I'll be really super sad, you know. And in the past, when I felt sad like that, I would go and I'd drink, you know. And now I just kind of allow myself to feel things. You know, I never used to allow that. Now I'll cry it out, you know, and then I'll go to sleep after I've prayed, and then I wake up the next day and it's gone. You know, that feeling's gone. And I wake up fresh and it's a new day, and all feelings are like that, you know. Happy things, sad things, anger. I don't get angry even nearly as much as I used to, but I still get angry. I got really angry when my daughter started calling her stepfather daddy, you know. Like, I was super angry, and my sponsor was like, it's okay to be angry, you know, but it's not okay to treat your wife, your ex-wife, badly because of it, you know, or to treat him, the stepfather, badly because of it. That's not okay. But I'm allowed to be angry as long as it doesn't affect anyone else. And it's a freeing feeling to know that I'm entitled to my feelings, you know. And I'm not perfect, you know. And a lot of the time, I still make mistakes, you know. Like especially in my driving, you know. Like I drive like a bit of a maniac sometimes, you know. And it never feels right. I always know that it's wrong, you know. And somebody once said to me, you can tell someone how their recovery is going by the way that they drive. And that's true for me too, you know. Like, I try and stick to the speed limit now, you know. But when I've had a bad day, then I don't. And hopefully I don't ever have an accident. But little things, the little things are important to me now, you know. The fact that I can exercise now, you know, like the one day I went for a run, I ran 20 Ks, you know, and I could never run 20 Ks before. And I was like, I can remember jogging when I was married, and I would go for a run so that I could go and use. And then I would come back and I would sometimes even like splash water on myself to make it look like I'd sweated, you know. And then the one day I was running and I was like, shit, I just made like past 5 Ks or whatever. And I'm like, I never used to run like this. You know, it's just like little things like that. You know, the fact that I like to exercise now. I like to eat healthy. You know, like I don't like junk food anymore. I used to love junk food. I bought McDonald's once in the last year and I was very, very disappointed, you know. But the way that I see things is different now, you know. Like I want to look after myself. I want people to like me, not because I'm who I'm pretending to be, you know. Like I get vulnerable, you know. Like I think that's one of the things. That's all that I've learned is that when people do things that bug me at work, especially, I've got to get vulnerable with them, you know. And by getting vulnerable, I've learned a sense of relief, you know, by opening up to people and showing them that I'm not perfect. They've opened up to me, you know, and I think that's how this program works, you know, is about not having that facade that I put up all the time, you know, and I think I wouldn't know all these. I wouldn't know how to actually live my life if it wasn't for this program, and if I didn't have a sponsor, you know, because a lot of the times he's the guy that reminds me about the program, you know. He's like, I think one of the most important things is that I will never get what this program gets me from something else, you know, that feeling of being complete, you know, that I have to work this thing every day to keep that, you know. And when other things make me feel that way, I need to remember that that doesn't last, you know. It's been a very important thing for me because we live in a materialistic world, and I have the tendency to be materialistic, you know. But it's okay to have these. It's okay to have nice things. It's okay for me to have nice things, and it's okay for me to appreciate those things. But I need to know that that feeling doesn't last, and I've experienced that now. There's nothing makes me feel better than when I go and do a meeting at like another rehab. Like I go do a lot of service at rehabs and prisons and stuff, and when I leave there, that feeling is beyond any drug, anything that alcohol could ever give me. Like I feel useful. The feeling of being useful. I think that's what I get from practicing this. That's why the newcomer is always the most important person. Because they are the ones that need it the most. They need me to be useful. They need us to be useful. And the fellowship in Joburg's been very different to the fellowship here. But I've grown to get used to. I had to get used to it. And then I came back here and I went to a meeting on Monday in Durban, and I was like, wow, now this place has got some really strong recovery. And I'm really grateful to have found this program here, some really, really powerful people in these meetings. And I hope to try and carry that message up in Joburg, And I've got some sponsees now, and it's quite challenging, Sponsee is one of the hardest relationships that I've ever had, is with a sponsee. Because I can't force him to do anything. I've got to wait for them, in the same way that my sponsor has to wait for me to reach out to him, I've got to wait for them. And I've got this scenario where my two sponsees are friends, and the one sponsee is telling me the stuff that the other one's doing, and it's not honest, and I can't go to him and go, this guy's told me this, and it's like, it's a very difficult thing, but I've got to lead by example, and that's what I do, and I think you can get a lot of growth out of sponsoring people, and that's been my experience so far. And I wouldn't be able to do any of this stuff if I got a really good foundation here, Some people don't get that opportunity to work through the step work in 3 months, It takes years for some people, and I find myself really fortunate that I've got to do that here. It gave me a really good foundation in my recovery, and I can remember, I shared about this yesterday, but that when I got to treatment, the guy that fetched me said, have you been to rehab before, And I was like, no. And he goes, well, maybe you'll be a one-hit wonder, And I was like, I really flipping hope so, because I don't, it took a lot for me to get to that point where I had to go, willing to spend that much time away from my work and from my daughter and from my family. So I went in guns blazing, I just did every single thing the way that they said I should, and the willingness, And I think that's why they bring it, those open-mindedness, honesty, willingness, those three things. Those are the three things that help me stay clean, To think that a power greater than me could keep me clean and sober, that helped me, that got me here. The fact that I could be honest, I could never be honest before, I can remember when I was going through this obsession that my wife was cheating on me, my ex-wife. I just wanted her to tell me that she was having an affair so that I could tell her that I had a problem too, I was waiting for her to tell me. The day that she told me she was having an affair, I was going to tell her that I had a problem with drugs and alcohol, And the day never came, She never told me that she had an affair. I still don't know if she did, But I really wanted to be honest. But in that scenario, I learned that I only wanted to be honest if it was a competition. We're both bad together, I wanted her to be bad so I could be bad, And it took a long time for me to get to the point where I was willing to be honest with her. And the day that I went into treatment was the first time that I was honest with her, by telling her that I had a problem and I was going into treatment, And my experience wasn't that she threatened me to take my kid away. She said to me, "We support you," And I think that I needed that, I needed that from her, and it really helped me to solidify my decision to book the plane ticket, to come here. And then, just continuing to be honest. I can remember there was a scenario when I was in treatment, and I lied to this guy about. It was one of the first times I kind of went to someone and told them that I lied to them. I lied about the fact that I didn't like the milk course. It was a crazy lie. Like I said to him, no, I don't like milk course, because he had made this for the whole house, and I was like, I actually do like it. I just didn't feel like it that day, and I didn't feel like explaining to him that I don't like it, so I just said I don't like it, and then that lie started disturbing me, and started bugging me. And I started talking to people about it, and I was like, what should I do? And they said, just go tell the guy that you lied, that you don't like milk course. And it took me a couple of days to actually go and be honest to him, And if I talk about it now, it sounds insane to be able to do that I did that. But I got that feeling of the freedom from the dishonesty, from that little experience, And I had another similar one with the guy I lied about the fish pond the one day. I said I filled the fish pond when I didn't, and then it bugged me, and I went to him and I said to him, dude, look, I didn't fill the fish pond, I lied. And he said to me, that's what you call working your program. I was like, so this is how this thing works, And it's honesty, And then the willingness, I think I was so broken and beaten by the time I got to treatment that I was willing to do anything they told me, They could have told me to jump on on one leg and bark, and I would have done it. Even getting on my knees felt so ridiculous in the beginning. I was in a room with these guys, and they were all getting on their knees at night, and I was like, what's going on here? Nobody told me about religion in this place yet. I don't know that was a religious thing. And then one of the guys said to me, when are you going to get on your knees, man? And I was like, maybe tomorrow, And I kind of started doing it because everyone else was doing it. And then that's developed into something now that is a very sacred ritual for me, that I do every day. I feel connected to my higher power when I get on my knees in the morning, And it's almost become a way of life for me. First thing I do when I get up is I do that, And the last thing I do when I go to bed is I pray, I get on my knees and I pray. And that was where the willingness all started for me, was in treatment. Now, I can remember when they said to me they think I should stay for 3 months. And I said no, I didn't want to, let me think about it. And I had an experience that kind of helped me make the decision. But what showed my sponsor that I wasn't willing enough yet was the question in the step working thing where it says, are you willing to do what your sponsor says you should do, or something like that. And I just said, as long as it's in my own best interests, I will, And he said to me, you don't stand a chance if you don't have the willingness to listen to your sponsor, And now, what my sponsor tells me, I don't always do it immediately, but and what I love about him is that he only speaks from his own experience. If he doesn't have experience in it, he'll tell me about someone else that does, and I'll contact that person, And he doesn't try and give me what he doesn't have, And I'm willing to do whatever he says, And he's a reasonable man. Somebody once said to me, if your sponsor told you to do 300 meetings in 90 days, would you do it? And I said to him, my sponsor's a reasonable man. And he doesn't expect a lot from me. I do the basics now, is what he does. I do 4 to 5 meetings a week. I do service. I do an inventory. I pray. Even my sponsors, his higher power is different than mine, which is fine, And I just keep doing what he says. I used to phone him every day. I feel like I don't have the need to phone him every day anymore. So I make an effort to phone him at least once or twice a week. And there are weeks when I phone him more, when I'm going through stuff, And I think it's important for me just to keep that connection open, And I believe my higher power works through my sponsor. He works through these rooms. He works through the people in my life. And I'm really, really, really grateful to be here. And thank you for listening. And I wish you guys all the best in your recoveries. Thank you very much.